Okay, so yeah, good morning everyone. It's great to be here today opening the session. My name's Steve Naylor and I'm a Digital and Data Research Portfolio Lead based at HSE, the regulator of health and safety in Great Britain. And I'm here today to talk about a project that we've been delivering within the Science Division called the Construction Risk Library Project, which we've been carrying out in partnership with the construction sector, both in the UK and internationally. So the Construction Risk Library Project is part of a larger portfolio of work that we've been delivering called Discovering Safety. Discovering Safety is a research programme that's funded by it was funded by a £10 million research grant, a seed research grant from Lloyd's Register Foundation. The seed funding is recently ended, and we're currently identifying other sources of funding to continue the work that we've been carrying out over the past 5 years. So Discovering Safety is all about how we can use emerging data science techniques and data analytics to deliver improvements in health and safety performance across the construction industry. And as part of Discovering Safety, we have been looking to leverage the regulatory expertise that HSE has within its regulatory function, plus the technical expertise within its Science and Research Centre, principally the data science and data analytics expertise, and probably most importantly, the regulatory intelligence that HSE generates through the discharge of its regulatory function. We've known for a long time as a regulator that there's lots of learning potential with the data that HSE generates from its inspection activities, its investigations, and also its prosecution actions. And it's underutilised as a resource. I mean, obviously, it is generated to serve a regulatory function, but there's a lot of learning potential within that data that historically we've not been able to use, mainly because of the way that the data is held. It's obviously free text information, documents, spreadsheets, and historically the learning potential is in that unstructured free text. We've done a lot of work over the years on the structured information. So that's really what we're trying to do as a research programme, and we recognise that the data that we collect is paralleled a lot within industry as well. Industry collects information on incident reports, they carry out inspections and investigations, and the view is that if we can develop tools based on our own data sets, we can then actually work with industry partners and do the same for them as well. So the project that I'm talking about today is the Construction Risk Library Project, and what we set out to do with this project is to see how we can actually support designers when they're working at the design stages of construction projects to make effective health and safety decisions at the pre-construction stages of projects. So rather than leaving health and safety and risk management to the contractors when they're delivering works, how can we actually support designers in being able to potentially eliminate risks before the works start in order to deliver improvements and positive outcomes. So I think it's worthwhile just to provide a bit of context really to some of the challenges, just to outline some of the key duties that principal designers have under the CDM regulations in the UK. Main duties are that they have a legal duty to plan, manage, monitor and coordinate work in the pre-construction phase so that foreseeable risks are adequately addressed. And as part of that, one of the other duties is to ensure that other key stakeholders that have a vested interest in the delivery of construction projects have the information they need to actually fulfil their duties to manage risks effectively. And the essence of that really is making sure that the information that's generated at the pre-construction phase of projects is cascaded down the line over the life cycle of the project. So the people involved in the build and then the people involved in the operation, potentially decommissioning of assets, have the information that they need. And it obviously comes with lots of practical challenges, and it's these challenges that we're looking to address as part of the Construction Risk Library Project. The main challenge being to apply the general principles of prevention on projects so that wherever possible risks are eliminated and reduced, and where that can't be, that effective controls are actually put in place. And as part of that, I mentioned about the legal duty for designers to make sure that information is cascaded. There's obviously lots of practical challenges associated with that. You know, how information is recorded, how it's communicated and shared, the harmonisation of that process as well comes with lots of practical challenges. There's a duty under the CDM regulations to create and manage a health and safety file. This is the essence of this idea. You've probably heard of a golden thread of information that's managed over the life cycle of a construction project. And we're really interested in how we can actually create tools that allow that to happen effectively. So how can we create a health and safety file that is usable and works for a project? Obviously, designers on construction projects don't have simply health and safety duties. They have lots of other responsibilities as well. You know, they're responsible for effective scheduling of works, making sure that projects are delivered to cost and to time, ensuring that the carbon footprint is as low as possible and the project's sustainability goals are actually met. They're responsible for optimisation of the project in terms of maximising the value and minimising wastage, and they're responsible for ensuring that the best technologies and innovations are used to ensure that construction projects are productive. And a lot of that centres around the use of modern methods of construction and the use of emerging digital technologies, which we're really interested in as well. Mentioned about some of the challenges that we recognise that projects face in managing data sets effectively and doing it in a harmonised way. And I think one of the things that's really positive is the publication of this ISO standard early this year, ISO 19650 Part 6, which is a data standard for the specification of health and safety data collected on construction projects, you know, how it's recorded and how it's potentially communicated. And at the heart of this data standard is basically a data schema that in essence consists of the key concepts that are believed to be key in how risks eventuate on construction projects. So this standard is built on the premise that risk eventuation is a function of the work activities that are planned on a project, the building materials, the building objects, and the plant, machinery, equipment and tools that are used on a project, the location on a site in which work's actually carried out. And these concepts all come together to determine how risks eventuate on a project. And obviously we have risk as a key concept in the standard as well. And what we've tried to do with the Construction Risk Library project over the last 6 months is to try and make sure that the way that the digital tool is created and the way that data is actually held in the tool is conformant with this data standard. Another key data asset that actually the Construction Risk Library project contributed to the development of it is an NBS Uniclass classification. The Uniclass is basically a data standard for collection of construction project data, not just health and safety data, but one of the things that was missing from this data standard was consideration of health and safety. So what we've been able to do as part of the Construction Risk Library project is to create a hierarchical risk classification specifically for construction works and construction projects. So the elements of the classification are very much aligned with the key risks that are evident in construction work. And again, the Construction Risk Library uses this classification in how it receives information and serves up information as well. So in essence, what we set out to do as part of the project is to create a digital knowledge asset that allows a designer to enter information on a particular risk scenario that they're grappling with linked to the project. Construction Risk Library has a database of potential risk treatment suggestions for different risk scenarios, and what we've done is created a tool that basically serves up potential risk treatment options to a designer. And what we've done, we've basically created the tool so that it is readily integratable into common construction information management platforms. So principally building information modelling platforms, but common data environments generally as well. We're also working on a version of the tool that effectively will you can use it as a standalone app. That's in progress, but our route to market and our strategy for actually getting this tool out and used was to actually create it so that it could be used with existing software products rather than trying to create a new product and market that as a tool. Just to illustrate how this concept of a risk scenario works, this is an example for a potential structural collapse risk, which is a potentially serious incident on a construction project. And what we can see here are the key concepts that make up the ISO standard. So in this example, collapse risk is the primary risk. The trigger of that risk is potentially unstable soil that's been excavated from an excavation. The building elements, the products of the excavation itself, but also the plant, machinery, equipment and tools that are used to do the excavation. The work activity is when a project is digging foundations and service trenches, and the location for this one is obviously site-wide, it's not specific. But examples of a location might be a confined space or working on an open edge, for example. The idea with location is that building information modelling tools are basically built on 3D models of a construction project. So in essence, what you should be able to do is put a pin on the model where the risk potentially will eventuate, and that's effectively what you're able to do with using it with the BIM software. So just an example here of the potential risk treatment suggestions that might be served up for this particular collapse risk. And what we've done with the tool, we've basically pigeonholed the risk treatment strategies by way of this 4x4 matrix. And what we've got along the top are the different risk treatment strategies. So whether that be let's look to eliminate it, let's look to reduce it, control, or just inform about it. And then we've got the different stages of the construction project where a designer might be working on and where you can potentially implement the risk treatment strategy. So for example, a risk treatment option at the preliminary design phase to completely eliminate the risk might be to use a pile foundation design, which will completely eliminate the risk because you don't have the excavation. We could reduce the risk by using cantilevered ground beams as part of the build process, or we could control it using trench boxes that basically put a wall within the excavation. Looking at some of the other treatment strategies, perhaps at the later stages of the project, we might design out requirements for people to access the excavation, for example, which would reduce the risk in the planning phase. We might batter the sides of the excavation, which is a risk treatment strategy that we'd deploy during site works. And what we're looking to do through the use of the tool is to encourage designers to choose options towards the top left-hand side of this risk treatment matrix, so basically the green area, which is in line with the general principles of prevention effectively. Let's look to eliminate rather than leave it for the site works team to deal with. The way we envisage the tool actually being used, it potentially provides an audit trail for a designer's design risk management duties. So you can actually demonstrate, look, here's the decision process that we've gone through to arrive at the design that we've arrived at. Design risk registers are an important part of the planning phase of a construction project, and this potentially provides a ready-made design risk register and the logic that has been used to compile it. As I said, it provides key information that can be integrated into a project's health and safety file and basically communicate to others on a project. Here's the risks that we've dealt with, and potentially here's the risks that need to be dealt with further down the line on a project. Provides really useful information potentially for processes like digital rehearsals, high-risk reviews, that they obviously need to be centred around risk challenges that projects are facing, and this is a good starting point for that. And as I said, if projects are really keen to demonstrate that they're compliant with ISO 19650, then this is a good way of doing it because it's been built with that in mind. And so where we're at currently with the project, the construction risk library has 80 risk scenarios within it at the moment, and about 2,000 risk treatment suggestions. We have it integrated and hosted at the moment in a couple of software products, most notably the BIM software 3D repo and a cloud collaboration platform called Mortar. But we're looking potentially to widen that out. There's lots of other construction software products that projects use, like, for example, we've got a few listed here. Oracle have a product, Autodesk Procore. These are big software platforms that are used widely. So we're really keen potentially to reach out and integrate a version of the library within these. And as I said, we're working on a standalone version of the tool as well, which can be used on an app. The other thing that we recognise is that the risk scenarios that are represented in the tool are limited. They don't cover every possible risk that might eventuate on a project. And equally, the risk treatment suggestions, there's lots and lots more that could be added. At the moment, the content of the library was generated based on information that HSE holds within its data archives and tacit expertise held by its construction inspectors. But what we see as potentially key for further development of this is to effectively crowdsource new content. So can we basically get designers over the course of using the tool to add new risk scenarios, add new risk treatments, feed that back to us, and we create a new version. So we're really keen to explore that. And that's really where we're at currently with the project. There's a call out to action across the sector, both in the UK and internationally. Use the tool, give us feedback, help shape future functionality. There's lots we could potentially do with this. We could potentially link guidance material to the tool, add generative AI capabilities that allow you to kind of identify other treatment strategies other than what's in the library based on guidance and standards. So really keen to work with industry to get feedback on it and to further develop it. And I hope I'm still to time, but I think that's well at it. So thank you.